Namaste. Ketu is antarmukhi, meaning introvert. Rahu is bahirmukhi, meaning extrovert. So when Rahu is in your 7th house, you are more focused on the partner. But when you are focused on the partner, the more you focus on the partner, the more you also become introvert about yourself. When you fall in love with other person, you also come to know a lot about yourself. You see? So, wheresoever Ketu is placed, it brings a certain wisdom to the native. Of course, it all depends on the quality of the native. An ignorant fellow, offensive fellow will not learn much, and then he will feel the frustration. He will be frustrated because he cannot understand what Ketu wants him to understand. That is why whenever you study a chart, first check the quality of the chart, the quality of the individual, and then accordingly you should predict. So in this podcast, I am going to talk about Ketu transiting in Virgo. So what happens when Virgo falls in the 6th house? 6th house is directly connected with conflicts, with disputes, and when Ketu is in the 6th house, it brings a certain wisdom on how to resolve these conflicts. You understand? So when Virgo is in the 6th house, meaning Ketu is in the 6th house in Virgo sign, transiting in Virgo, you will have those qualities, or you will be able to enhance those qualities to resolve the issues in your life. Whether those issues are at your workplace or you have any issues with your colleagues. Any disputes, colleagues at home or workplace, you will gain certain insights, certain wisdom through which you will be able to resolve it. Now this I am talking about quality individuals, evolving individuals, those who are utterly ignorant, offensive, commenting just to hurt others, having no sense of what they are commenting about. These kind of negative people, they will not be able to understand the message, and so they will suffer. How will they suffer? They will not be able to resolve the conflicts. In fact, they will make it more worse. So see, there are two sides for Ketu transiting through this Virgo in the 6th house. Similarly, when Ketu is transiting in the 7th house, it gives you a certain insight about your partner. Ketu in the 7th house can actually lead to a detached love, and the love that comes through detachment is the most purest, the most highest level of love. In fact, true love is born out of detachment. So, Ketu in the 7th house definitely gives you a great opportunity to work out your relationship by becoming more and more introvert, by turning inwards on the matters of your relation, of your marriage. So Ketu in Virgo in the 7th house also leads to a certain positive result, provided you are an individual of a certain quality. If you are totally ignorant, then you will make the situation worse and you will have problems in your marriage and relationship. Similarly, when Ketu, that is Ketu in Virgo, falls in the 8th house, you start getting more and more ideas, insights about the occult world, the unseen world. You see, you become more and more initiative. Your intuition power grows when Ketu transits the 8th house. It is a highly spiritual placement for Ketu. And so I am not going to repeat the same thing again. I am talking all these things for those individuals who are evolving souls. Evolving souls means souls who are taking efforts towards their self growth. Meaning those who are practicing meditation, those who are practicing daily chanting, for them I am sharing this transit results. Whereas for those who are ignorant fellows, Ketu in the 8th house can lead to some accidents, some confusions in regards to money, debt, and so on. When Ketu is transiting the 9th house, it actually brings a lot of wisdom in your life. 9th house is the house of higher knowledge, and Ketu, as you all know, is the master of higher knowledge. So 9th house Ketu transit is excellent for gaining more and more wisdom. Wisdom is attained when you throw away all your knowledge, because the knowledge is what Rahu seeks. More and more knowledge. This book, that book, this scholar, knowledge. It is only gathered information. You see, that is why Bhagwan Raman Maharshi always used to say that why you want to burden yourself by having more and more knowledge, because knowledge is something that is gathered from the outside, whereas wisdom is something that comes from the inside, and this happens through Ketu Maharaj. That is why I have always said that don't ignore Ketu, because Ketu is that force, that energy which can actually lead you to your spiritual progress, to your real growth, the growth within. And when Ketu comes in the 10th house, that is when Virgo falls in the 10th house and Ketu is transiting the 10th house, slowly you start realizing that what a fool you have been. That whole life you have been running to reach somewhere. And in this madness, you forgot to sit back, to pause. You see? So this kind of higher wisdom comes to those who are evolving souls, meditative souls, when Ketu transits the 10th house. And when Ketu is transiting the 11th house, at that moment, you start realizing that the real growth, the real benefit, the real gold is not the gold that is in your locker. It is not the gold that you keep in your locker or in your bank locker. The real gold is your self growth. And so Ketu transiting the 11th house makes you realize that enough is enough. How long you will continue to chase this fake gold when the real gold is within you? So this kind of higher wisdom comes when Ketu transits the 11th house. And when Ketu transits the 12th house, then you are in the monastery. In the monastery means not physically, but wheresoever you go, it's like an ashram moving from one place to another. You yourself become a monastery. So it is one of the most beautiful position for Ketu transiting the 12th house. And when Ketu is transiting the first house, then it actually breaks your ego. You know, we all have egos. And whosoever says that I don't have ego is fooling himself or herself. Ego remains because ego is your mind. As long as the mind is there, ego always is there. but the question is how much. And the person who is meditating, chanting, he is coming out of that clutches of that mind, you see, and that is why his ego becomes lesser and lesser. And this transit of Ketu in the first house signify that this is the moment, these 18 months, when this whole cleansing process will happen, and you will be able to work on your ego. You will be able to make it lesser than it was or it is. When it comes to Ketu transiting the second house, that is when Virgo is in the second house and Ketu is transiting to the second house, then it reminds me of that beautiful quote or verse of Jesus, that the man who goes on saving loses everything someday, and the man who is willing to lose everything is able to save. So when Ketu is transiting the second house, you realize the futility of accumulating things. Whole life you have been accumulating bank savings, properties, all kind of treasures, everything you have been stuffing, and now you realize that what an idiot I am. And again, this kind of realization comes only to a man who is an evolving soul. The rest are happy, accumulating crores and whatnot. So Ketu in the second house actually helps you to come out of this tendency of accumulating things. A real spiritual person never accumulates. He lives moment to moment. As Neem Karoli Baba says, man plans for 100 years, but he don't know what will happen the next moment. So Ketu transiting in the second house actually brings this wisdom of getting over this nature, this quality, this tendency of accumulating. And when Ketu transits the third house, then the third house is all about communication. But what exactly you want to communicate? There are people who will go on talking for many hours, and there are people who will talk only few words, but those few words will define the whole essence of that subject. So deeper communication, you see, Ketu is all about depth. So when Ketu is transiting in the third house, you will now communicate, but your communication will be more deeper, will have more depth to it. Not some shallow talking, but a depth to it. There will be an essence of spirituality in it. So third house Ketu is excellent for evolving souls who are communicators, writers, poets. And so Ketu transiting in the third house is excellent for these natives, as well as for those who may not be writers, who may not be poets, but still in their day-to-day routine life, their communication will become more and more philosophical, more and more spiritual. And that is the whole beauty of Ketu transiting the third house. And when Ketu transits the fourth house, then it brings detachment. See, fourth house is all about clinging. The nature of clinging comes through the fourth house. And when Ketu is in the fourth house, it helps you to come out of this clinging nature. You see? And that is the whole message of Ketu transiting in the fourth house, that enough is enough. Stop getting attached to your home, to your mother, to all these things that are around you in and out of your house. Because all these things, you never know when they will be gone. So stop getting attached to all these matters of home, mother, and come out of this. Only then you will experience the real joy, the real happiness. And when Ketu is transiting the 5th house, then it is an excellent position for you, especially if you have children, especially if you are attached to children, that is your own children, that the message of Ketu is that please don't get too much attached to your children. Please don't try to dominate over them. Please give them their freedom. Many people say that I would like to raise my child this way or that way. They forget the fact that it is a human, it is not some cattle that you are raising. It's a human, right? Your child is a human. So don't raise it, cultivate it. You see? So that is the message of Ketu transiting through the 5th house, especially if you have children. And if you are into stock market, then this transiting Ketu 5th house is not good, because Ketu dislikes all that is connected to gambling. You see? And so if Ketu is transiting through the 5th house, then you should not take much risk when investing in stock market. Or for matter, don't even gamble. Like some people go and they put their money on horse race and so on. Don't do that, else you will face loss. So this is how the whole nature of Ketu is when Ketu transits through all these 12 houses. Understand the fact that Ketu also signify astrologer, because astrology, Jyotish, Jyot means light, Ish means God. God means consciousness. So Jyotish is light of consciousness. And this consciousness comes only when you turn inward. And this turning inward comes only by the blessings of Ketu. And so, astrologer is Ketu. And all these people who come to the astrologer, they come because of their problems, their questions, and all these things come under Rahu. So, astrologer comes under Ketu, and all those who come to the astrologer are actually coming through the path of Rahu. This is a fact, and I just love to share the facts. Whether you agree or disagree, it's your choice. And always remember, to attain something, you should be ready to lose everything. You can't have both the things. To attain something, you need to jump, and you will jump only when you are willing to let go all that which adds no value to your life. Many people talk a lot of things about spirituality, but I want them to go back and read about Sant Tukaram, Saint Eknath. Read about them, and then you will understand what exactly is spirituality. All these great saints, they had to go through many sufferings. The more and more you come closer to God, the more and more society tries to harass you. The society tries to pull you back. And all of these things happened with Sant Tukaram, Saint Eknath, Saint Jnaneshwar. I have already shared the story of Saint Jnaneshwar in one of my podcasts. He lost his father and mother. Both of them committed suicide. Why? Because the villagers condemned them. They condemned them because Saint Jnaneshwar's father was a sannyasi. And after he became a sannyasi, he got married with his mother. And during those time, a sannyasi coming back to material life and getting married and having children, it was totally condemned. And so the whole village condemned them. They forced them to commit suicide. And Saint Jnaneshwar with his siblings, they had to go through so many sufferings. And at that too at the age of 8 years. So suffering is the sole origin of consciousness. Truth is hard, but what to do? I have to share it. Enough for now, and I will be back soon. And as you all know, that next month my new book on the 27 nakshatras is coming. Just yesterday I gave a final nod to it. It is now in the printing process. It has really come out very well. And those who have been following me closely, especially those who have read my books, they will definitely love this new book, 27 Nakshatras, The Living Legends. Enough for now. Jai Sri Ganesha. Jai Guru.
ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः।